So Truth Hero Turtle Quirk and I got together to discuss what the future of the series could be now that the war arc is over. So let's get into it. The prison break. So where do you guys think this prison break is headed? What do you think's going on with this new resurgence of villains?
Yeah, so with All For One, like, I'm not sure if you guys agree with this, but from what I'm seeing so far, it kind of looks like he still wants to be in charge. Because previously, before this arc, it was kind of all setting up for Shigaraki to be the successor and everything, and for him to take over. But now it's kind of seeming like All For One still wants to maintain that spot as the number one. So my thinking is that over the next few chapters, we might actually get a battle of some kind between Shigaraki and AFO, where they're kind of like fighting for control. Because Shigaraki, he's not fully in control of his own body even. So I think these two need to resolve the differences they have, and then the leader after that will kind of like be in charge of the villains going forward.
I agree with Turtle. I was very confused when I read the end of this chapter. I had to do it a few times because when I was just, casually reading it and taking it in, I thought All For One was saying that Shigaraki's going to be the new and improved Demon Lord. But then you see, he's clearly talking about himself. In the middle of the chapter, they have this struggle between, oh, you should rest, or, you used my power, now it's time to, be the king in the chess game. But All For One is very adamant about himself making a comeback. So I don't know if they're going to have a fight, but I feel like they might combine powers or bodies, which I don't know why you'd want to do that. Both of their bodies are pretty trash right now. But maybe they can share consciousness. So there's going to be some new transformation, like Shigaraki went through with Dr. Ujiko. Maybe this is a less physical one, but I agree, they're going to have to work that out, and it'll be interesting to see who those villains that have now escaped from Tartarus choose to follow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. I mean, even I couldn't really make sense of the future of their relationship in my own review. Is Shigaraki going to be subservient to All For One again? Is he going to be number 2 in the new League of Villains, supposedly, that's going to come out of this? Or are they going to have some kind of merger? Because it does seem, well, at least in my opinion, that Shigaraki and him becoming Plus Ultra Shigaraki and all that stuff was just a means to an end for All For One, for him to have the new hardware, because that was another thing that coming into this war arc, Yujiko gives that speech about how All For One software, his quirk, him gaining all of these abilities, couldn't keep up with his hardware, his physical form. So that's why they needed to create Shigaraki, so that now he had this new, super powerful computer rig to be able to handle all this RAM and this graphics card and all this stuff. So he could just transfer his consciousness over to it, which seemingly he can do. It's straight up confirmed at this point that is an ability that he has through the magicalness of All For One and the quirk singularity and all that stuff. So I'm thinking he's just been gaslighting Shigaraki at this point into thinking that he's not just a chess piece, even though he literally calls him the king, so he is a piece. And also, we can't forget, we still don't have the reveal of Shigaraki, the origin of his quirk, him getting decay. I think we all pretty much agree that it was given to him by All For One, or at least I think we do. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it wasn't an accident of birth. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I mean, with that whole Shigaraki backstory, we saw a guy in a suit dropping him off home one day, right? And then at that point, Shigaraki didn't have a quirk yet. So this whole time I've believed that AFO gave him the decay quirk as sort of the grand plan. But yeah, I'm not sure if everyone agrees with that, but yeah, I think we're in agreement on that at least.
I like that more now, because if that was revealed, it would give Shigaraki a real reason to hate All For One. Shigaraki is the little kid, Tenko, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to be a hero, but if he finds out that All For One engineered his entire life by giving him this decay quirk because he knew he was, Shimura Nana's grandson, and then, it was all this 50-year plan to get revenge against All Might, and, then prop himself up as the new and improved Demon Lord, I think Shigaraki in that moment would revolt against All For One, because Shigaraki's sort of arc in the series in general is him trying to be independent and achieving his own goals, without Kurogiri's help, without All For One's help. He's a kid who's frustrated when they try and take on All Might at the USJ, and he's slowly becoming more independent. So I think that could be a catalyst as to why Shigaraki rebels against All for One. But again, very confusing at the end of this chapter when you thought the entire time they're struggling through this arc, okay, All for One's just helping his disciple out. Now it's like, I'll come back.
Yeah, exactly. I think even if All for One didn't give Shigaraki the quirk, Shigaraki still has a reason to kill him. And that's the fact that AFO is kind of like taking over his own body. So Shigaraki no longer has any autonomy. Like, whenever AFO's vestige wants to, it can seemingly tap in, take control, and, it's just not a way to live. So I think Shigaraki eventually will have to just kill for one regardless.
True.
I mean, he also tries to straight up kill him. When Shigaraki tries to take All for One and they go into the vestige world, you see All for One like a symbiote kind of on top of Shigaraki. And then Shigaraki tries to decay him. And All for One's like, oh, I almost forgot. You hate me too. So they're like, he's already like against him. And another thing that I think points to this power struggle, this identity struggle between them, that will likely come to one or the other taking over each other or something like that is, remember at the end of the war arc, or one of the last chapters of seemingly the war arc, is Izuku is like, you look like somebody that needs saving, referring to Shigaraki.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. What is your guys' take on that? Like, could Shigaraki be redeemed by the end of the series?
I think he could be, in the sense that it's more for Deku's character, because Deku truly believes that he can save everyone no matter who they are. I don't know. I'd have to see that panel again. At the very least, it does look like Shigaraki is having that internal struggle against All for One in front of Deku, but to me, when I first read it, and like I said, I'll go back to it, it kind of seemed like he was just struggling in general.
I don't feel like Shigaraki should be redeemed, because, I don't know, like, I kind of said this in one of the videos, one of my theory videos actually. I don't think Deku could actually kill a person. Like, I don't think Deku could really kill Shigaraki or bring himself to do that. But at the same time, if Shigaraki is still evil, if he's still got his overpowered body, which he currently has, then there's no way you can end this series and be confident that he won't come back if you don't kill him. So I was thinking, like, the only way really around that is to redeem him in one way or another. But I just don't know. I just don't know. After all the things he's done, I just don't know if the fandom would accept that. I don't know if I would accept that.
I think the key component, if there is a redemption, not saying there will be, but the key component would just be that, he didn't choose this. Like he was, damned from birth, pretty much, damned from the start. Like he was just a 4-year-old kid trying to just be a kid, and then he was just thrown into this ancient war that it's been going on. And, he's kind of just a victim of circumstance.
And maybe that's why this relationship with Shigaraki and All for One is being fleshed out, because maybe in the very end, Deku and the heroes defeat Shigaraki, and Shigaraki's not redeemed in the sense that he can be a hero or a good person or whatever, but maybe in the final moments he truly rebels against All for One and helps the heroes destroy All for One.
Do you think it's possible he could give his life in the process?
Yeah, I don't think he would remain alive. It's what I thought possibly could happen, and maybe still could with Endeavor. He could die, and then, right before that, he does something good. Sort of, I mean, Horikoshi's a fan of Star Wars, so Darth Vader, lives his entire life, before, well, not Anakin, but as Darth Vader, as the worst villain in the galaxy, and then the one thing that redeems him in the end was him killing the Emperor.
Let's go into the future of Izuku, because a lot of question marks with him right now. Obviously, he's going to have some kind of PTSD coming off of this, but also he's completely wrecked. Do you think that there's going to be like a portion of time where he's unable to do anything? Because also there was callbacks in this arc to, after the sports festival, like when his arms were all messed up and the doctor was like, your arms, if you wreck them like 2 or 3 more times, then you're pretty much paralyzed. So what do you think's going on with that stuff?
So, you know what? It's difficult. I mean, if he was to actually like be paralyzed, I just don't think it wouldn't be that cool. Like, he's the main character. He's the guy who's representing the series. If he can't use his arms anymore and he doesn't get robotic arms or something like that, it would be kind of weird to have a paralyzed protagonist in a way. So I feel like I don't know. I just don't know. But I just don't think long term Izuku can have no arms or arms that don't function well. Because remember, he has Black Whip, which kind of, although he can use it from his mouth, the main use is from his arms and from his hands. So I feel like in the future, this can't be a permanent thing. Like, he has to somehow get back to normal.
I actually don't think, Izuku wrecking his arms is that much of a handicap physically for him, because remember, Eri kind of has control of her powers now, so she could probably help that healing process. What I do think it relates to is Deku's mom. Whether or not she's alive, okay,
I think she's alive.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that too. I don't think Izuku's mom can watch that broadcast, which I'm betting she saw, because Skeptic was showing this to a lot of people, because he had to get Dabi's message out there. I don't see how Mama Midoriya can let him continue to be a hero. And I think for the heroes and the Class 1A and even Class 1B, it's going to be more of the obstacle isn't going to be physical, it's going to be more of an emotional one. First of all, the heroes have a funeral arc to go through. UA will never be the same. They're missing one of their teachers, Midnight, and then all these other pro heroes. And I'm sure they'll hear about the breakout in Tartarus, so that's going to have them again question, why did we even do this in the first place?
Yeah, I actually have a controversial opinion about the whole UA as an institution. Like, okay, so I'm not saying this will happen for sure. Probably won't happen, but I'm of the belief that it is possible UA could be shut down after this, because they've had a ton of their students on the front line on live TV. Bakugo was skewered, Izuku had his arms broken, so like the reputation of UA is going to go down significantly when people see that on their screens. And then on top of that, you have Endeavor, who's obviously, a UA alumni, he used to go there. It's just that, oh, and also another thing that I just remembered, back in the Forest Training Camp arc, Dabi was kind of saying that the two pillars of Hero Society, right? So number one was All Might, who's now retired, and number two was UA. And so everything the villains are doing is kind of just like to break that faith in Hero Society. And UA is at the core of it. So I kind of feel like the parents, Deku's mom, Bakugo's mom, everyone's just going to be so angry that maybe Principal Nezu decides to be like, you know what, we're shutting down. All the students, they transfer abroad or they transfer to Shiketsu or something like that. But maybe UA could be shut down. It's feasible. If this was real life, I think it would be feasible. But obviously, it's totally up to Horikoshi what he wants to do.
I was thinking something like that too. I'm really unsure of the future of UA and just, Hero Society, the Public Safety Commission, and everything in general. So I honestly really wouldn't be too surprised if UA, if there was, at the minimum, some kind of substantial change to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, someone could look at, these kids fighting the villains and saying, wow, UA is so brave. But I can't imagine that's going to outweigh what parents think. Why is my son fighting a Titan? I don't see UA improving their reputation. I'm not going to say it'll damage it. Yeah, they were on a mission, but they were also on internships. But I think it would be pretty cool for UA to kind of take a back seat, and the students have to do something else with their lives in the meantime, while Shigaraki and the villains are growing stronger, and really show that the heroes are kind of helpless right now. And it'd also be nice to see Shiketsu again.
So that's pretty much it for this one. Thank you to Truth Hero and Turtle Quirk. If you haven't already, please check their channels out. They have awesome content. And if you like this video, please give it a like and maybe subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.